I recently did a video on retrogrades where I talked primarily about the influence of Jupiter retrograde, Saturn retrograde and Mars retrograde. And I explained that especially with these three planets, you can see them when they are retrograde. For example, Jupiter is retrograde now at the time of this recording, has been for 2 or 3 months, will be for the next month or so. And if you look at it now, in relation to the two stars immediately to its left, that is Castor and Pollux, the stars of Gemini, you will see that over recent weeks it is not so much as moved left or right, but it has certainly moved down as opposed to up. And this is Jupiter moving backwards against the star, against the backdrop of the skies. Now, when it is an inner planet, it's different. Here we deal with primarily Mercury and Venus retrograde. Venus is currently retrograde at the moment in the sign of Capricorn, and it's one of those geometrical quirks that says that Venus goes retrograde 5 times every 8 years in a pentagonal pattern which is more than 99% precise. It's not exact, but it's pretty damn good. Hence the principle of 5 and 8 in sacred geometry. Venus retrograde teaches us that when Venus is retrograde, it's often accompanied by somewhat humbling experiences worldwide that teach us to reassess our value systems. And if you're born with Venus retrograde in your chart, then look at the sign and the house that Venus is in and ask yourself about how your values differ from the majority. You will find if you're born with Venus retrograde that your value systems are more based around internal, how can I describe it? It's like internal assessment based on your own personal beliefs and philosophies rather than adopting that of the norm and the convention around you. You will have your own particular forms of value system that is different to the norm if you have a retrograde Venus in your horoscope. And with Mercury retrograde, bearing in mind that Mercury goes retrograde for something like 20 weeks, 21 weeks every 2 years, 5.5 weeks every year. So it's retrograde for maybe 1 in 10 of the population. Mercury retrograde brings different ways of communicating. These are not the people who come out with strong statements and clear identification. These are the people who reflect and consider, who mull and who assess before prognosticating. These are the people who don't make on-the-spot decisions, whose best form of communication is done more through internal reflection and deep thought rather than active outgoingness with Mercury retrograde. Of course, dependent on the sign and house and aspect. Mercury goes retrograde 3.5 times a year. It's not that uncommon. And it is perhaps more common in terms of effect in the position of the outside world's experience of it, as much as, if not more than, individual charts. It's so common in individual charts that when I look at an individual chart, it's rare that I really pay a Mercury retrograde that much interest, unless it is strongly conjuncting a major point in the horoscope. And then there's the North Node. Now, this is a bit specialised. But for those astrologers out there who use transits and particularly who use progressions, there's a lot of argument around different types of progressions ongoing, and I haven't got time for that. I haven't got time to work it out. I haven't got time for the complicated. I go for the simple stuff. I think that humanity is far too insensitive to recognise the subtleties of progressions, which is why I only use the progressed Sun and the progressed Moon with solar arc, with secondary progressions. I also use the progressed North Node. This is the true node, not the mean node. This goes retrograde and direct, on average 5-6 times a month. And at a progressed level, this is particularly significant in terms of lifetime changes. And it's something to be looked at when you're looking at for real, clear patterns of life over a long period, over decades. It really starts to make a bit of sense. Retrogrades all points in the horoscope, apart from the sun and the moon, and obviously the ascendant and the midheaven, go retrograde. And whilst they are retrograde, the learning process takes place internally as much as, if not more than, externally. Catch you later. Bye.